Hello students, I welcome you to today's class. Today we will be reading and discussing a very nice story, a very nice topic, the water. Here we have a nice story of a young man who is a party worker. Now, first let us see who is a voter. Now, voting right, the electorate. An electorate is a person who has the right to vote. Now, what is voting? What is the right of voting? Now, voting is the right of every citizen in a democratic setup. Now, what is a democratic setup? In India, we have a democratic setup. The government is a democratic government. What is a democratic government? We all know the democratic government in a democratic setup, it is a setup which is formed by the people. It is formed by the people. They vote their representatives, the leaders. In a democratic, what is a democratic government? The democratic government is the government of the people, for the people and by the people. So, the citizens, the people of the society are responsible for the formation of the government. And this is the reason people vote. Elections are held. What is the election? Election is a procedure of selecting the leaders, selecting or forming the government body, the ruling body of the state. To select or elect the ruling body of the state or the governing body of the state, the people select their leaders. Right? In a democratic setup, the people set up or select their leaders by casting their votes. So voting, right, I am sure all you students are 18 years old. By now you have the right to vote. So you have the right to vote. You have the right to elect or select the representative of your choice into the ruling party, into the governing body. So here we have, a very nice lesson written by a Nigerian writer, Chinua Achebe. Okay, now Chinua Achebe, he's a Nigerian writer, and basically, all his write-ups, are based on those Igbo tradition. Igbo tradition, it's a tribe in Nigeria. In general, now here he has, in this lesson, the voter, he has written the story of, how the system is in back in Nigeria, but in the Igbo tradition, people of Igbo. But this is in general we can discuss. Now, voter, of course, voter is an electorate, a person who has the right to vote, a person who has the right to elect or select his leader to represent in the government. It is in a democratic setup. Elections take place every 5 years. The governing body changes. Every 5 years, election takes place, where different candidates contest elections from various political parties. They contest elections, and accordingly they form the governing bodies. Okay, and who select these representatives? The voters. The voters, they select these leaders. Now, in this lesson, the voter, we are going to read about a young man who is okay, a young man, a very eligible and efficient party worker. In a way, he is a person who works for a minister. He is a party worker who helps a minister to win his elections. Okay, now before that, let us discuss sometime how important is voting in a democratic setup. To what extent is voting important in a democracy? Now, you might have taken part in various elections in your schools earlier. You select the head boy or head girl of your school. So, how the leader will be selected? The leader will be selected through election. And what is the system of election? Every individual goes and he casts his vote. You know, there will be a ballot paper. It's called a ballot paper. You either put the seal or you write the name and you put it inside the ballot box. Now, what is the ballot box? Ballot box is where when the ballot paper is inserted or it is put inside with the name of the particular party or the particular leader. So, how important is, let us discuss how important it is, to what extent voting is important in a democracy. Now, as you all know, what is democracy? Democracy is a government for the people, by the people and of the people. So, people are responsible for the formation of the government. So, obviously, people elect their representatives into the government. Now, when people are electing their leaders or representatives to the government, obviously when they cast their votes to these people, to these leaders, they will have some expectations from these leaders. Obviously, the people, the common people, they have some expectations from their leaders that they will do good to them. They will do them a benefit for their survival purpose when these leaders get into power or when they get into the government. So, with this expectation, the people cast their vote to the people whom they feel will do good to them. And these leaders, they contest elections from various parts. And these leaders, when they contest elections, before the elections, they do lot of canvassing and campaigning. They go around asking votes with the people, with the common people. And when they go asking for votes, what do these leaders do? When they campaign for their votes or when they are canvassing for their votes, when they ask for votes, what do? They will make promises with the people that they will be doing good. They will do good to the people. They will improve the conditions of living of the common man. They do promises. They give promises to the common man. They convince the voters that if they cast their vote to him or her, they will try to improve the living conditions, or they will improve, make the conditions better for the citizens. With this promise, the people, they show their trust on these leaders and they cast their votes at the time of election. Now, these ministers, they belong to different parties, right? These ministers, they belong to different parties and they will have an office of their own. The ministers or leaders, they will have an office of their own and they will have many, apart from the voters, apart from elections. They will have many party workers. Now, in this lesson, the voter, the author, Chinua Achebe, he speaks about one such party worker, a young man who is eligible and efficient in his work, and very sincere and efficient young party worker who works for his leader, who works selflessly, renders his services to his party and to his leader. Now, as we read the lesson, we will come to know about this young man. Who is this young man? Now, before we start reading the lesson, I request all the students to keep your textbooks open. The lesson is The Voter, written by Chinua. 12th lesson. It is the 12th lesson, The Voter, written by Chinua Achebe. Keep your lesson open and also keep a pencil with you so that you can, whenever you are asked to underline some of the sentences, you can underline those sentences, which is important for your 1-mark questions, and also it will help you to write your answers 4 marks and 6 marks questions. To answer your 4 marks and 6 marks questions, it will be helpful for you to answer your 1-mark questions as well as your brief answers. So students, as we read, you will be asked to underline some sentences. I hope you will do so. Now let's start reading the lesson. Okay. Now, Rufus O'Cake, underline Rufus O'Cake, Roof for short, was a very popular man in his village. I told you, the author, he is talking about a young man, Rufus O'Cake, right? The author is talking about a very young and efficient party worker. He is a party worker. When I say party worker, he belongs to he is associated with one of the political parties and he is working for one of the ministers. Okay, he works for, that is what a party worker is. He works for one of the ministers, a party worker, Rufus O'Cake. His name is Rufus O'Cake, Roof for short, but he is fondly called as Roof. The young man's name is Rufus O'Cake, but he is fondly called as Roof. Was a very popular man in his village. He was very famous, this young man. He was known by everyone. He was fondly called as Roof. He was known by everyone in his village. Although the villagers did not explain it in so many words, Roof's popularity was a measure of their gratitude to an energetic young man who, unlike most of his fellows nowadays, had not abandoned the village in order to seek work and work in the towns. Now, at the very outset, the author tells, Roof was a very popular fellow in his village. All the villagers were fond of him. He was young, he was energetic. Okay, he was, and many people, they were so fond, they did not make any extra effort to praise this fellow. Everybody liked him. He was young, he was energetic, he was efficient. He sufficed all his responsibilities very nicely, in a disciplined manner. He sufficed all the requirements of his job in a very disciplined manner. So, Roof's popularity was a measure of their gratitude. The people felt proud about Roof. The people were proud about Roof, that there was such a young man, energetic, efficient young man in their village. Okay? Why they were proud of him? See, nowadays, youngsters, they have different people who live in villages, the youngsters who are in the villages. In modern days, it's a belief that resources are limited in the villages and there are more opportunities in the cities, in the towns and cities. Right. Now back then, some years back, if you discuss or if you talk to your parents or your grandparents, they might tell you they have migrated from their villages to big cities. Right. People migrated from small villages to big cities in order to seek an opportunity to grow in life. This is a common thing, usual thing in life. People migrate from the smaller villages to big cities in search of greater opportunities to grow in life. Right? To grow in life. And especially the youngsters, it is the youngsters who move on. They move on because they feel there are limited resources in their villages, so they go in search of jobs, and this was common, even now and even then. People migrated from their villages to bigger cities or different countries, different states in search of jobs. And especially the youngsters, once they finish their education, if they don't get any satisfactory job according to their qualification or according to their satisfaction, they moved on to different states and different countries. Even now, we have, in today's world, many youngsters, they travel abroad for better prospects. They travel abroad for better prospects. They consider it a golden opportunity to get a chance to work abroad or in some bigger ambience. They consider it as a very good opportunity of life to develop in life, to grow in life. Right? So most of the youngsters, now this is the common, this is one attitude. Youngsters, they move on, they move from their villages to other places for their personal growth. But here we see, in this village, we see that Roof, this young man, one of the reasons why the people were so fond of him and were so proud of him, it was because this young fellow, it was not that he was not educated or something like that. No, he was educated. He was educated, but still he remained in his village rather than moving out of his village. He remained in his village. Right? He retained himself in the village where he grew up and decided to help his people. See, he could have gone out into a different country or a different state or another city, a big city. He could have gone out and he could have tried his luck for a better life. But he decided to retain himself in the village where he lived and decided to help out his people. This was the reason, this is one of the reasons why he was so much liked by his villagers. See, he had not abandoned the village in order to seek work, any work in the towns. If he would have gone out, see, he was young, he was energetic, he was intelligent. If Roof would have gone out of his village, any kind of work he would have gone and he would have prospered. There was no need for him to struggle in his village, but he did not do that. he thought about his people. He decided to stay back in his village and do something for the people in his village itself, to help the people in his village. So this is one of the reasons why roof was liked by everybody. This is one of the reasons why roof was liked by everybody. Because he did not abandon his village. Abandon means he did not leave his village and go out for better opportunities. He decided to stay in his village. Okay. And Roof was not a village lout either. As I told you, he was not a village lout. Now, what do you mean by a village lout? Now, usually people think about villages like primitive. They are not modern. They are primitive. Okay, they are timid. But it was not so. It was not the case with Roof. Was young, he was energetic, he was intelligent, Roof, he was educated. He was not a village lout either. He couldn't be considered as a primitive. You know, recently I saw in one of the movies, a boy, he comes from a very traditional place and he was talking his native language. Rather than speaking English, he speaks in his native language with everybody. He addresses everybody in his native language in college rather than speak English. So, some people, they degrade him. They call him as a primitive, not modern. They think that he is good for nothing. He doesn't know anything. They look down upon him as a village lout, as a primitive. But here the author says, Roof, he was not a village lout. He might be staying, he stayed back in the village. He did not move out of his village for better opportunity. He decided to stay back in his village. There was a purpose, there was a reason why he stayed back in his village. Though he had the ability to move out and try out his luck in bigger cities, he did not move out. That does not mean that he is a village lout. Village lout means we can call a primitive. Does not mean that he is not modern. He is modern. He is modern. And he decides to help his being in the village, staying back in the village, he decided to help out his people. Okay. Everyone knew how he had spent. Now underline this line, student. It is important for a 2 marks question. 1 mark question. It's important. Underline this sentence. I repeat, underline this sentence. Everyone knew how he had spent 2 years as a bicycle repairer's apprentice in Port Harcourt. See, everyone knew. What was he working as initially? He was working as a bicycle repairer's apprentice. Now, what do you mean by apprentice? Is a trainee. Okay, he helped in a bicycle repair shop. He worked as an apprentice, a trainee. Which place? In Port Harcourt. In Port Harcourt, and had given up of his own free will a bright future to return to his people and guide them in these difficult times. Right? For 2 years, Roof, he worked as a bicycle repairer's apprentice. He worked as a trainee in a bicycle, under a bicycle repairer in Port Harcourt. Then, after working for 2 years as a bicycle repairer's apprentice, this fellow, Roof, he decides to come back, give up his job. He could have continued in the same field and he could have prospered. But he gave up. This young man, Ruth, he gave up his job. See, everyone knows. He gave up and had given up his own free will, out of his own free will. Nobody forced him to do so. Out of his own free will. Out of his own free will, he decided to give up his job. A job where he could have stayed back, continued, and he could have prospered. He gave up that job and returned to his hometown only for the sake of his people. Only to help his people in difficult times. Only to help out his people in difficult times, he came back. He decided to give up his job and he decided to come back to help out his people in times of difficulty. Not that Eumophia needed a lot of guidance. Now, which place did Ruth live? The village Eumophia. Please underline that sentence. Eumophia. The name of the village where Ruth lived was Eumophia. It was not that it was a very remote village. It was not that Eumophia was a very remote village. No. But still, Ruth decides to get back to his village and work with his people. Okay? And what was the name of his village? The name of his village is Eumophia. The name of his village is Eumophia. The village already belonged en masse to the People's Alliance Party. Underline this. This is very, very important, students. People's Alliance Party. PAP. Now, which was the ruling party in Eumophia? It was, see, the sentence says, the village already belonged en masse to the People's Alliance Party. No, People's Alliance Party, PAP. Now, the party, the ruling party in Eumophia was PAP, that is the People's Alliance Party. The en masse, meaning the party had been unanimously elected into the ruling position. The People's Alliance Party was unanimously elected into the ruling position. So it was enmasked with this party. The People's Alliance Party was enmasked with the ruling party, that is People's Alliance Party. Okay. And it is its most illustrious son, chief, the Honorable Marcus Ebe, was Minister of Culture in the outgoing government. Okay. Now, which was the ruling party in Eumophia? Which was the ruling party in Eumophia? The ruling party in Eumophia, was People's Alliance Party. And who was the minister of that party, the leader of that party? It was a son. It is said that the most illustrious son, a person from that village itself, from Eumophia itself, the chief, the honorable minister, Marcus Ebe. Underline all these sentences, students. Chief, Honorable Marcus Ebe. He was the leader of the People's Alliance Party. He was the leader of the PAP. And he was a member to the he was a member in the ruling party. He belonged to the PAP party and he was a member in the ruling party. And what position did he hold in the ruling party? He was a Minister of Culture. Now remember students, usually they ask a question about his post for 1 month. Students usually do a very common mistake. They write cultural minister. Now remember students, there is a difference between Minister of Culture and cultural minister. There is a difference. These are two different things. What you have in your textbook is Minister of Culture. So if a question is asked on this, you have to compulsorily write Minister of Culture and not cultural minister. If you write cultural minister, you will get it wrong. You will be awarded a 0. So you have to write the Minister of Culture is the right answer. Okay students, keep this in mind. Do not write cultural minister. Cultural minister is wrong. You will get a 0 if you write cultural minister. The correct answer is Minister of Culture, because there is a difference between Minister of Culture and cultural minister. There is difference. So Chief Honorable Marcus Ebe was a Minister of Culture in the ruling party. Now, as I told you earlier, the general elections take place every 5 years. Every 5 years, the government changes or there will be a change. Election takes place. So now, this lesson, the author has based this lesson in a period where elections were going to be held after 5 years, right? This incident is taken. Okay, whatever the incident, what is the incident on which this lesson is based upon is the incident is before the situation before the forthcoming elections. Forthcoming elections means general elections to be taken place. So the situation in this lesson is prior to the forthcoming elections. Prior to the forthcoming elections. It is based on that situation. The lesson is based on that situation. So here it's given Marcus Ebe was Minister of Culture in the outgoing. Marcus Ebe was a Minister of Culture in the outgoing government. Okay, which was pretty certain to be incoming as well. Underline. See, this was the tenure of the present government was going to get over. The tenure of the present government was going to get over, but it was also expected that the same government will come back into power. Though it is outgoing government, it is expected that it will be after the elections, it will be the incoming government. Did you get it, students? That means this was a very popular party. People's Alliance Party was the most popular party it was in ruling party. It was the ruling party in Umofia, right? It was the ruling party in Umofia. It is popular, right? It was popular and it was on the verge of elections. It was an outgoing party. And it was also expected that after the elections, the same party will come back into power. And which is that party? That is the People's Alliance Party. Nobody doubted that the Honorable Minister would be elected in his constituency Opposition to him was like a proverbial fly trying to move a dunghill. Okay. Nobody doubted on the victory of Marcus Ebe. Marcus Ebe was a minister. Marcus Ebe was a minister of culture. Marcus Ebe was a minister of culture in the present government. Okay. And nobody doubted on his victory. It was sure and obvious that in the forthcoming election also, Marcus Ebe is going to win with a landslide victory. Unanimously he will win. And any opposition in front of him, see, when you contest an election, there should be two parties or two candidates. When you contest an election, there, you know that. Two parties or two candidates, two or more parties or two or more candidates. The election will be between them. So in front of Marcus Ebe, see, he was in the ruling party. In front of Marcus Ebe, undoubtedly any other opposition, it was just like a fly. You know, there is a saying, okay, when you drink tea, it's just like you pick the, a fly falls into the tea, no problem. You can just, it is not important. The fly is not important. You just pick it and throw it away. So the opposition party was just like a fly, as meager, as unimportant like a fly. Just pick it up and throw it away in front of. It was so meager. The opposition would seem so meager in front of Marcus Ebe. Undoubtedly, Marcus Ebe was going to win the elections. Okay. It was like a fly trying to move a dunghill. A fly, it's so small, it cannot move a dunghill. You know what is a dunghill? It's made of dung. It's like an anthill. You cannot move it because Marcus Ebe was such strong hold he had. Okay. It would have been ridiculous enough without coming as it did now for a complete non-entity. For any other opposition party would become a non-entity, non-existent in front of the PAP party, that is the People's Alliance Party, which belonged to Marcus Ebe. So here in this paragraph, first paragraph, you got the introduction of Rufus O'Cake, fondly known as Roof. He decided to stay back in his village. He gave up his job and he decided to help his people. Then he was a very staunch supporter of the minister Marcus Ebe, who belonged to the People's Alliance Party. Undoubtedly, People's Alliance Party was the most popular party in Umofia, the village of Umofia. It was the ruling party, and Marcus Ebe was from that village, and he was elected as minister. He was a minister in the ruling party. He was a minister in the outgoing party, and it was obvious that in the forthcoming elections also the same party would come back into power. Okay, I hope this much you have understood. As was to be expected, Roof was in the service of the Honourable Minister. Underline this sentence, students. As expected, Roof. See, in what way he was helping the people? In what way? He was helping the people of his village to understand the importance of elections. He made the people understand the importance of their votes. Now, vote is it's a very important thing, students. It's very valuable. Every vote, your vote is very valuable. It depends on whom you vote. It's very valuable. So, what was Roof's work? Undoubtedly, he was a staunch supporter of understand and realize the value of their votes. Okay. As was to be expected, Roof was in the service of the Honorable Minister for the coming elections. Of course, new elections were ahead. So, as a party worker, as a strong supporter, now Roof had to begin his work for Marcus Eby. He had become a real expert in election campaigning at all levels. Now there are different levels of elections, be it the panchayat level or I am talking about in the Indian democratic setup. Okay, you have the Grama Panchayat or the corporation level, different types of elections, levels of legislative assembly elections, different types of elections, state elections, general elections, different levels of elections are there. Now, Roof. He had been working for Marcus Eby for such a long time that he had become an expert in election campaign. He knew every little minute details about election. He was thorough with it. He was an expert. Everything were at the tip of his fingers. Everything were at the tip of his fingers. So he knew everything so well. Right? He knew everything so well. So he was an expert in all levels of elections. Okay. Local government or national, whether it is of the local government or the national government, he was an expert. He could tell the mood and temper of the electorate at any given time. For instance, he had underlined the sentence. For instance, he had warned the minister months ago about the radical change that had come into the thinking of Umofia since the last national elections. See, I told you Roof was an expert. He was an expert national level or local level elections. He was an expert. He also very well understood the mind setup and the temperament of the electorates. Electorate means the voters, the people who voted. He very well understood their temperament, about their moods. He very well knew that how was changing, what radical changes have taken 5 years. Now, the temperament will not remain the same. How they were 5 years earlier, the temperament now, there may be something new, some expectations from the electorates. That is why, this Roof had understood this, and well in advance he warned his minister. See, this time people's attitude has changed, temperament has changed. They are not like last year. This year they are expecting something from you for their votes. So you have to be ready. You have to be ready to agree to their demands. Okay, you have to be ready to agree to their demands. He had warned Marcus months ago. Okay. The villagers had 5 years in which to see how quickly and plentifully politics brought wealth, chieftaincy titles, doctorate degree and other honours, some of which, like the last, had still to be explained satisfactorily to them. For in their naivety, they still expected a doctor to be able to heal the sick. Anyhow, these honours and benefits had come so readily to the man to whom they had given their votes free of charge 5 years ago, and they were now ready to try it a different way. In the last elections, they had casted their vote to Marcus Eby. He won the elections and he was elected into the ruling party. He got a position of Minister of Culture. Now, after becoming the Minister of Culture, now as I said to you earlier, these political leaders, when they campaign for elections, when they go on canvassing for votes, asking for votes, they make many promises to the people, right? They make many promises. But after the election, usually, generally we see that these political, they even show in movies. These political leaders, they make their portfolio and things so on with lots of promises, and nothing is amended. Everything, it just remains in the book, right? It just remains in the book. No work is done. Once the elections are done, their position is safe and secure. They forget the general public. The ministers, they are not bothered. They don't come back to the public again. Then again they remember the public only at the time of next elections. So now even here, Marcus Ede, he had promised some things in the previous elections. Before the elections, he had promised. But after the elections, what had happened is, the people have witnessed this. He prospered. Marcus Ede, the minister, after becoming a minister, he got many degrees. He prospered in wealth. Okay, his style of living improved. He improved himself. Personally, he improved. But he was not doing any good to the people who have voted for him. The people are still, the people in Umofia, they are still waiting for a proper doctor to treat the sick people in their village. They are waiting for a proper doctor to treat the sick people in their village. He had promised that if he becomes the minister, he will provide the best doctor, a specialist to treat the sick. But that has not happened. People know all this, right? The people, the important people in the village, they know all this. They have been observing all this. He has not fulfilled his promises, Marcus Ede, but he has prospered. Personally, he has prospered. His living conditions have improved. He has got many titles. He has got a doctorate, a degree for himself. But he has not provided any doctor to heal the sick in this way. He has not fulfilled his promises, but he has prospered. So all these things are observed by the important people of the village. So this time, see, what is the warning that Roof gave to Marcus Ede? He told Roof. Roof has told Marcus Ede, see, 5 years back, easily they voted for you. In return of their votes, they expect something from you. So you have to be ready to agree or fulfill their demands. You have to be ready to fulfill their demands. So he warned them that people are thinking in a different way this time. Now anyways, the elections are at the verge of being contested. Forthcoming elections. Okay, very soon it is going to take place. So we have to be careful. You have to prepare yourself. If you want a landslide, if you want to win with a landslide victory or unanimously you want them to select you, you have to be prepared. This is what the Roof had warned Marcus. Right, Roof had warned Marcus. This time the thinking of the people has changed. They are expecting something in return of their votes. Okay. The point was that only the other day, now see, I told you how Marcus had prospered. He did not fulfill his promise. Whatever he had promised before the elections, he will do this, he will do that for the village. Nothing was fulfilled. But he had prospered. Let us see how he had prospered. Okay. The point was that only the other day, Marcus Ede was a not too successful mission school teacher. The politics had come to their village and he had wisely joined up. Some said just in time to avoid imminent dismissal arising from a female teacher's complaint. Today he was Chief the Honorable. Okay, let's read here. See. before becoming a minister or before entering into politics. Now, how did Marcus Ebe? Now, students, mark this paragraph. It is important for your brief answers, for your 4 marks answers. It is important. See, how Marcus Ebe became a minister, or how did he enter into politics? The change that, see, before entering into politics, before he was elected as a minister, what was Marcus Ebe? Marcus Ebe, he was an ordinary mission school teacher. Marcus Ebe was an ordinary mission school teacher, not so successful mission school teacher, ordinary fellow, a mission school teacher, not so successful ordinary mission school teacher. He had some problems. He faced some problems in his work front, right? He faced some problems in his work front. He had some problems with one of his female counterparts. A female teacher had complained against him, and due to that complaint, he was about to be dismissed from his job. Marcus Ebe, he was an ordinary mission school teacher. He faced some problems in his work front from a female counterpart who had complained against him, and because of that complaint, he was on the verge of dismissal from his job. And at that time, politics entered into Umofia. This fellow quickly he jumped to save himself from that blemish or shame. He jumped into politics, right? Marcus Ebe, he was not so successful there. He jumped. This is how he got into politics. From an ordinary mission school teacher, he was on the verge of dismissal, which was a black mark on his character. At that time, he jumped into politics. This was the time when he jumped into politics. People then supported him. Okay, when he entered politics, people supported him, and he became the Chief Honorable Minister of Culture in the ruling party, People Alliance Party, PAP. Right? In the ruling party, People's Alliance Party, he became the Chief Honorable Minister of Culture. From an ordinary mission school teacher, because of a black mark, to save himself from that black mark on his character, he jumped into politics. He was supported by the people, and he became the Chief Honorable Minister of Culture in the outgoing ruling party, People's Alliance Party. Okay, so this was a little background of Marcus Ebe, how he became a minister. Okay, after he became a minister, see, he was supported. He might have made lots of promises that I will do this, I will do that, I will do good to the village, I will improve the village. All these promises he might have made during the campaigning of the previous elections. But he did not fulfill any of his promises, but he prospered. Personally, he prospered. He developed, he grew. In what way he prospered, let us see. After becoming a minister, he had 2 long cars, and had just built himself the biggest house anyone had seen in these parts. A big palatial mansion he built for himself. He had 2 long, see, he became rich. Financially, he became very rich. His wealth increased. He accumulated wealth for himself after becoming the minister. Right? This is obvious. People prosper, they forget. See here, Marcus Ebe was just an ordinary school teacher. He did not have anything with him. He was not rich. He did not have any wealth. But because of people's support, he became the minister. But after becoming the minister, he just became richer and richer and richer. He owned 2 cars. He built the biggest mansion for himself, biggest house anybody had in that place. But let it be said that none of these success had gone to Marcus's head. Okay. Even though he was so successful, he managed to remain a down-to-earth person. Okay, students? See, none of these success. He owned 2 cars. He was the honorable minister. He had so much of, he had become so popular. He earned so much money. But he did not allow this success to go on to his head. He was not proud at all. He remained a down-to-earth person. He was able to maintain a good relationship with the people, with the public. He was able to, though he was selfish, this thing we should remember, though he was selfish, he accumulated wealth for himself. He did not do good to others. But at the same time, he managed to remain down to earth. Remain down to earth means he was able to maintain a cordial relationship with the people who had helped him to win the election. So this was one plus point for him. He maintained a good relationship with everybody. So this helped him. People still liked him. Okay. He remained devoted to his people. See, whenever people approached him, he did not refuse them. He managed to remain devoted to his people. He listened to them. Whether he solved their problems or not, it is a different thing. But he would always listen to his people. He paid attention to, he would give his attention to his people. Whenever he could, he left the good things of the capital and returned to his village, which had neither running water or electricity. See, he did not do any good thing to the village. He must have promised, after I become a minister, I will provide electricity I will bring in electricity to the village. I will improve the water facilities of the village. He must have promised all these things before he came into power. He must have promised. But students, what happened? See, after becoming the minister, he forgot all this. He forgot all his promises. He did not do any good to he didn't try to improve the village. And he did not do any harm also to the village. It's a different thing that he did good to himself, personally. He developed. Right? He improved personally. So there was no electricity, neither running water pumps were there in the village. Although he had laid, to the village he did not do any good. There was no electricity or running water pumps. He did not implement it in the village. But lately installed a private plant to supply electricity to his new house. But he got a private electric plant to supply electricity to the new house which he had built. See, for himself. It was not for the village, but it was for himself. Okay? Maybe because of that, when he got a private electric plant for his house, maybe through that it might have helped the village. So the people did not mind it. Okay. He knew the source of his good fortune, unlike the little bird who ate and drank and went out to challenge his personal spirit. Marcus had christened to his new house Eumorphia Mansions. Please underline this. Marcus christened. Christened means he had named his house Eumorphia Mansions in honor of his village. And he had slaughtered 5 bulls. I told you this entire paragraph is important for your 4 marks answer. See, he slaughtered 5 bulls and countless goats to entertain the people on the day it was opened by the archbishop. See, he was like a little bird. He compared himself, you can compare Marcus Aurelius with a little bird who takes little, who eats and drinks little and flies outside and tries to claim the world. Okay, an opportunist. We can call Marcus Aurelius an opportunist. Okay. Then after that we see that he had built a new house and he had christened his house with he named his house Eumorphia Mansions. So this was one more thing he did to impress the people of his, that means to show that he had respect over the people. He named his house Eumorphia Mansions. Okay. And it was inaugurated, his house was inaugurated by the Archbishop. Archbishop is a higher official of the church. Everyone was full of praises for him. See, on account of his housewarming, he had thrown a very big housewarming party for the people of the village. See, you can see that he slaughtered 5 bulls and countless goats. So there was a huge feast on account of Marcus Aurelius' housewarming. And he had invited, specially invited some of the important people of the village. Everyone was full of praise for him. One old man said, "Our son is a good man. He is not like the mortar which as soon as food comes its way turns its back on the ground." You know what is a mortar? A mortar is a mixer. You must have seen these cement mixers, right? That machine. Wherein the stones and cement is mixed together, and as soon as the stone and cement is put in it, it will turn its back and it will fall on the ground. It's a mixer, mortar. The one old man, people who came there, they started praising Marcus Aurelius. But one old man started saying, "Our son is a very good son. He has not changed. He is the same." Because today, see, so much of he gave them such a big feast. Though he is a very big minister, it has not affected him. He has so much respect and love for his people. But when these people ate food and praised him, they praised him. They came there, ate the food and praised him. This is common. When we go for any function or marriage, we will praise the host. "Oh, what a good party! What good food!" Then after coming out, our attitude will be changed. Same thing happened here also. When they went inside, they ate food. People just praised him to the fullest. Now, but when the feasting was over, the villagers told themselves that they had underrated the power of the ballot paper. Underline this sentence. Now, the ballot paper is the election papers in which we cast our votes. That is called as the ballot paper. Now people started talking. Inside they were praising Marcus, but after eating food and coming out, they started talking. In the previous elections, we underrated our voting rights. We underrated the ballot paper. And before and should not do it again. Last time we did not understand the value of the ballot. We underrated. We did not mind or we did not consider the rate or the value of the ballot paper. We will not repeat it this time. See, now the people also after 5 years, people also have become smarter. We will not repeat our mistake this time. Chief Honorable Marcus Aurelius was not unprepared. He had drawn 5 months' salary in advance, changed a few £100 into the shining shillings, and armed his campaign boys with eloquent little jute bags. In the day he made his speeches, at night his stalwarts conducted their whispering campaigns. Roof was the most trusted of these campaigners. Now see here, stalwarts means the workers, okay? Stalwarts means sincere workers. Marcus Aurelius, he gave a big party to the village people. They ate the food inside the house, they praised him. But when they ate the food, when the feasting was over and when they were coming back, they realized, they said, they told each other. Last elections we really underrated the ballot paper, the value of the ballot paper. But this time the situation had changed. But this time the situation had changed and they expected something for their vote. This time the people expected something in return of their votes. And they said this time, and Marcus Eve, he was warned by Roof. He was not unaware about it. He was aware and he was prepared. So what he did, he had already withdrawn his 5 months salary and he had converted the pounds into shillings so that he could distribute those shillings to the voters. He could give it to the important people. And he had prepared his stalwarts, his workers, party workers. He had prepared his party workers to distribute this money to his to the people. And Roof was an important party worker. The Marcus Eve, how did he conduct his campaigns, election campaign? During the day he made his speeches. Underline these sentences, students. During the day he made his speeches, and at night his stalwarts. Now what are the stalwarts? His sincere workers. What did they do? He had put shillings in jute bags and he had given to them secretly during the night. They made a secret campaign during the night. Roof was their leader of these stalwarts, the most trusted workers. Stalwarts means trusted workers. During the day, Marcus Eve, he made his speeches, and at night secretly these stalwarts with Roof as their leader, they went to particular people, they went to some important people to distribute money, because this time they knew that people are not going to vote freely. They expected something in return of their vote. So they wanted to give something in return. They expected something in return. That is why Marcus, he had withdrawn his 5 months salary. He had converted the pounds into some shillings and he was distributing shillings so that the people would vote for him. Okay. So students, today's class I will stop it here and I will